And we are live. Hello, 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 everyone. I am so excited. You know me, I'm always excited. Every day I say the same thing. But yes, I am truly excited. This is going to be a great show tonight. Uh, as you know, I'm going to just make sure on Facebook, I'm going to make sure that we are good. I am just doing a double check here. And we are. So, for
Right.
those of you who don't know who I am, and I'm saying hello, hello all over the place, I am Lisa Marie Aird, Collegiate Success Coach for Campus Bound GPS, where we help students and parents navigate the college application process. And this is October Tips. October Tips is a series dedicated to students and parents who are going through the college application process, where I bring in experts or kind of sub in myself when I don't have anyone to appear on the program and talk about a tip that can help you move through the college application process. October is a very busy month for students and parents as they go through it. A lot of students are going, working on their essays, trying to get a admissions counselor to hear more about their school. You're doing it. You're doing it. You're trying to beat the deadlines. You're trying to beat the November 1st, November 15th deadlines for early action or early decisions. And this series is just a little nudge, a little help, a little piece of information per day based on anything and everything dealing around the college application process. Last couple of days, we've been dealing with the student athlete. And I am super duper excited for our guest today. She is new to the Campus Bound GPS family. We had an awesome conversation before this broadcast. I'm just going to introduce her. So, welcome, Zedralyn Butler.
Thank you.
Yay!
Thank you. Woo. I'm so glad to be here.
I am glad that you are here because I'm really psyched about your topic. But before, let me let people know, I'm going to just let them know who you are, but you're going to give them a little bit more about you.
Okay.
So, Zedralyn, or Z,
Yes.
is the student athlete mentor and strategist. She is the founder and CEO of the Ball Code. So, with that,
Yeah.
welcome and tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you again for having me here. I am really excited about this conversation. So yes, I'm Zedralyn Butler, and everybody calls me Z. And I am a former D1 women's basketball athlete. I actually played on the junior college level as well as NCAA, both Division One programs. Went through the process, um, and I wanted to give back to those student athletes. I wanted to be that person that I never had, and so with the ball code, I help student athletes transition from college. And lately, my focus has been on the high school seniors or the high school age student athletes to help prepare them for that transition, as well as the parents, because I think the parents are a very important role in that transition process. So that's a little bit about what I do. And the topic that we're going to talk about is athletic identity. All right.
Preparing for your
Preparing for
athletic
your athletic.
identity.
Yes.
Okay, I like that. Okay, so you know something yesterday, and when I spoke to you, I was a little confused. But yesterday, because you cleared it up for me, we
Mhm.
spoke about name, image, and likeness.
Yes.
So, can you give a definition of what an athletic identity is, just for
So
our parents and students out there?
yes. So there's a few different definitions out there, nothing really concrete, but in short, it all kind of means the same thing. And that is basically when your student athlete comes to term with who they are as an athlete. And there are so many different forms just within that one concept of athletic identity. So an example, one of the forms may be something of maybe like a privileged form, I guess I could say that. So let's say that student athletes go to their professors or instructors and introduce themselves because they may be missing class at some point in the semester. So you have those instructors that are very pleased and very happy and excited that they have a student athlete, and they're willing to do whatever it takes to, help them be more successful in the classroom. And then you may have an instructor or professor that is kind of, not so excited about that, right? So they may make it more difficult, but it's the privilege. I'm an athlete. I might be treated as such. And so that's just one example, but there are just so many. The one that I really want to focus on is the talent identity. This is very common, especially with your incoming freshmen. So one example could be if I was a high school senior athlete and I scored 50 points in a basketball game, or I had 10 touchdowns in a football game. That makes me feel good about myself, and the people who surround me, they encourage me and they tell me, "Oh, you're so great, you're so good," and all of this. And then when you get to college, well, it's a different competition level. Not to take anything from scoring 50 points or 10 touchdowns, but who are you playing? So in college, when you reach that competition level, everything is heightened. The intensity level, the push, the workouts, the expectations of your coach. And then it has you wondering, am I really that good? And
So it
am I
sounds
really?
like moving from being a big fish in a small pond to being a
Mhm.
small fish in a big pond. I had to think about getting that right.
I know
But
exactly what you mean.
yeah, because
Yeah,
you're making that transition,
mhm.
and you were recruited because you are the top that for the selection that the coach is looking for. But
Right.
then the coach is also looking for the top talent all across the United States or internationally even,
Absolutely. Absolutely. I
and
mean,
you're herded in, right?
Absolutely. I mean, it makes sense because you don't want to get comfortable with the competition that you're playing, right? Within your own conference, or when you get to the state championship game. You don't want to be comfortable with them because your real competition are other student athletes who probably are playing across the country in the same position that you're in. That is your competition into receiving scholarships or having, room on the team for, through the roster and all. So absolutely.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
So how does one prepare themselves for their athletic identity?
Well, it's just being aware of what this is. Back when I played, I actually experienced this. I actually went through the talent identity piece. Nothing could ever come together. It could never gel. I my coach was on me, my teammates were on me, and I'm just like, well, I know I got this. What is going on? Well, um, I'm proud to be from Pine Bluff, Arkansas, which is what I thought was, a decent sized city, but when I got to Texas, it probably would be called a small town, right? And the junior college that I went to, Tyler Junior College, shout out to those ladies. Um, we were ranked like fifth or seventh in the nation. So that was a big change for me, a bigger platform, but that was something that I actually wanted. So I had to figure it out on my own. And so I think that the biggest thing is to actually become aware of what this really is. Another thing is for parents to be supportive in it. So you want not only the student athletes to be aware of athletic identity, but the parents to be aware of it as well, and how they can support. So this kind of goes into the next thing that I wanted to talk about: how parents can affect the student athlete's identity.
Okay, so I'm going to say something,
Hmm.
and maybe because listening to you, I think I've seen this. The parent who knows their child is the best of everything.
You are spot on.
You're on the
You
stands. You're like, my baby, that's
Yes,
my baby, right?
absolutely,
And
absolutely.
then you get to be freshman, possibly
Hmm.
riding the bench for a little while if you're playing basketball. So I'm a basketball mom, so I'm always going to talk about
Yes,
basketball.
we can do
But
that.
The first year you're probably, sitting on the bench for, the first and second quarter, where in when you were in high school, you were starting.
Yes, absolutely.
And
But you know what? I can go even farther than that,
okay.
because this is what a lot of us overlook. I was having a conversation with a parent. His 18-year-old was a basketball player. He just graduated high school. And when I met the parent, we were kind of talking about him and his moods, his behaviors, and things like that. He was nonchalant and lethargic and just was not motivated at all. And I just asked him the question. I asked him two questions. I said, number one, when did he start playing basketball? And he couldn't tell me. I said, well, I was 7. He was like, no, it was way before 7. I said, well, okay. So number one, he's devoted a lot of his youth, to playing basketball and conforming to this athlete. And the second question that I asked was, well, was he good? Now that goes back to what you were saying, because everybody's baby is good. Everybody's baby is good. But, one thing that we fail to realize is that there's a difference sometimes in what we call good through the parents' eyes or perspective versus what we call good through the coach's perspective. And in this case, this parent was, saying, oh, he was so good. He was great. He could have been on somebody's team. Aha. Was he around when you told him this? Now think about what that does to him mentally when he's not playing, when he doesn't get recruited. What does that do to him mentally? And I just told him, I said, look, he's just trying to find out who he is right now, because he's built this life around being an athlete. And so now we've talked about athletic identity in the college realm, but now we have athletic identity now with who we are as an athlete in that high school senior, league of its own. And we overlook that.
Yeah, it's interesting. What you're saying, that my son went through a lot in his desire to play basketball. He did not play basketball on the collegiate level, but he was recruited heavily, and it came a point where he had to make a decision. And I know he really wanted it. I know he really wanted it, but he had to decide because his major was engineering. And he had to make a solid decision on, do I play for a school or do I be a student? Because it's hard in those types of majors to, handle being an athlete and being an engineer. Can it happen? Yes. But he
Absolutely.
made a choice. And and I think that's interesting because that's your identity as well. All throughout high school, he was a top player. And then it's like, okay, let me decide what it is I want to do. And to offset that, he did club basketball. And as an adult, he still plays basketball.
Yeah.
So, I think that's an interesting way to look at it. And as a parent, I had to support his decision.
Yeah.
Instead of being like, no, you what? No, we can do both. You can do both. We can do both.
We can make it work, right?
We can make it work. And that's one of the things I talk about in this whole college application process, which includes recruiting. The child, your child, is now in the driver's seat, and as parents, we're passengers. And you have to really understand your role. And it's not necessarily we, it's you, and I am supporting you. And speaking of which, we have Kevin L. Crumpton. Hello, my cousin, here supporting you. So
Yes. Hi. Yes.
So there's support all around
to you, APB. Yeah, but that is so true. You have several athletes who actually overlook that part because they're willing to sacrifice. They're willing to just kind of choose maybe a different major, because a lot of the majors, especially I know football, maybe basketball, There are some majors that conflict with practice, and then they're confronted by coaches like, do you want to play or do you not want to play? And then there's that decision, you know. Um, we can go on all day about that, but there's just so many different avenues with athletic identity. We have seen time and time again within the media how a lot of athletes are coming out talking about their mental space and their mental struggles. And so all of this basically ties into the athletic identity piece. Um, and then there's another thing that I wanted to kind of talk about to kind of piggyback off of, major decisions or the decisions in their major. Um, we had the transfer portal, which it was popping. It was like a party in the portal, it was popping. So transfer portal basically gives the college athlete the ability to transfer and go and play for another school, basically. It's always been there. There have been tighter restrictions previously, but the NCAA just kind of opened it up. Then you had COVID, giving them an extra year with all of that. So the big piece was that there were a whole lot of college athletes going into the portal, but just because you go in doesn't necessarily mean you come out. And what that means is that I'm going to go into the portal with hopes of being recruited and picked up by another school so I can go play for them and not have to wait a year to play. I can just go in and start playing. Well, what does that do to them mentally when I was good enough to receive a scholarship? So now I go into the transfer portal and now nobody wants me. And there's a process to that. So, the coach has to sign off, the athletic director of school, all of that, there's that process. So when I come to you, Lisa, and I say, look, I don't want to play. I just need to transfer. I would like to enter the transfer portal. Well, as soon as I do that, well, guess what? You're out recruiting my position. So if I don't come out of the portal, I can't go back to where I came from. And then the athletic identity piece sets back in.
Wow.
Well, I wish, but my question more so is, why did they even consider going to the transfer portal in the first place? And some people were saying, with the extra year that COVID gave, you had the seniors who graduated and started in their master's program. And then that was one thing that I would hear. Well, the school didn't offer the master's program that they wanted, or they were interested in, so they'd try at another school. Well, before all of this, less than 1% of that was actually happened. So that couldn't be, the main reason. So I would suggest that one of those main reasons is that, they may not have gotten along with the coach or the coach's decisions, especially like playing time or, just not having that connection. And that really ties into what you're doing now with the college bound GPS. Because are we making the right decisions? If we have options, are we choosing the right fit? Are we choosing the best college, for us as an athlete, or are we choosing a college because it looks good?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I must say, and I said this earlier this week as well, my children were trained by a coach, and he always used to say, don't let the school pick you, you pick the school. Do your research, do what you need to do so that ask the questions, and what are the right questions for a parent to ask, because parents always feel like I mentioned it. I said, I can't remember what I said, what phrase I said, but I think I said, as a parent I felt like a bystander, and so I was like, no, you're not supposed to be a bystander. But some coaches make you feel that way.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to speak to the student. I just want to speak to my athlete, because they're trying to claim you at that point.
Right.
And as parents, if we're supporting our child, especially making sure that, they transition into an institution that is the best fit for them, that will help them, mold their identity.
Yes.
Because you
Absolutely.
do need that. You do need that situation where you go in and not feel like you're the star.
Mm-hmm.
And when you don't play like the star, then what?
Yeah.
So
It's hard to overcome that, until you, and it's just something that you have to figure it out. I'm so excited because I'm working on this. It's a workbook, but I call it a playbook, where it actually helps the student athlete become more aware. And so I ask self-guided questions to get them thinking in hopes of helping them overcome that athletic identity or talent identity piece. But it's interesting enough that you said that because we had a conversation about HBCUs and PWIs and what that means for student athletes. And, my story, as I shared with you, is that I literally grew up HBCU, literally grew up University of Arkansas Pine Bluff. I'm gonna give my shout out to them, go to Lions, because my father was such a, he was, to me, I thought, and many other former students may agree, that he was kind of like the life of the student union. He had, I mean, I grew up around the Greek life, I grew up around SGA, I grew up around the student union, and I had experienced all of that. However, I wasn't really recruited by HBCUs. You know, Morgan State recruited me like in the 8th grade, but coaches change, and so then you never hear from them again. And I was so young, I didn't really know. Do I need to reach out to them? Like, I wouldn't have known what to say. My parents were kind of new to this, so it was just kind of like a lost cause that I wish it never was lost. But I ended up going to PWI, and the experience just was not the same, but they were recruiting me, the talent and the competition was great. I have, no issues there. The teammates are wonderful. I love my teammates, my sisters. But that HBCU experience, which I had known to have, experienced, it wasn't present at the PWI. So then it now becomes like a cultural identity. So there were a lot of things that I had to go through, or that I witnessed, or that I experienced, that was definitely a cultural difference.
Interesting. And with Campus Bound GPS, what I tend to do with my students when I'm coaching them is have them do research.
Mm-hmm.
Research your campus, understand, your campus is yourself. That's part of Campus Bound GPS. You are your personal campus, but you want to align yourself with the campus that you're going to be on and see
Yes.
if this is a good fit. There's so many. I can't tell you how many parents, when I have the initial conversation, who run down, well, these are the schools that we're interested in. Hence, I go again, we. These are
Yeah.
these are schools we're interested in. And I always say, okay, thank you. But I make sure when any student goes through my program, they do the research.
It's so important. It is. It is. It is so important. I was lucky enough to lean on my high school coach who got me into the junior college level. And that was great. I will shout out, I'm a big supporter and advocate for junior colleges. I am, because that actually helped me overcome my athletic identity. That had a huge part of me getting over that slump of whether or not, I questioned myself as an athlete, because um, I was approaching my sophomore year. So me mentally, I knew that I have to go through this whole recruiting piece again. I got to get it together if I want to get to, another D1 school. And so that really helped shape my athletic identity. And I woke up just like that, and came back and started my sophomore year with a whole different mindset.
Can I ask how did you, or at what stage did you realize that you needed a mindset shift? And what is that thing, or what is that it that said, okay, you know what, I need to get myself together and I need to figure this out?
Yeah. So my whole freshman year, it was like, what in the world is going on? Like what is going on? Like, I know I'm good, but what is going on here? I couldn't get it together. It was just like, ugh. But as I just mentioned, when I went home that summer after my freshman year, our coach, she sent us home with a workout plan. And when she sent us home, when she physically gave that to us, I took it and I ran with it. I set goals for myself. One of the things that we had to do is we had to run. as long as we wanted to. And my goal was to run a game plus overtime. Okay. So that would have been like maybe what, 45, 50 minutes of running. And I hate running. Like conditioning is not my favorite. My coaches know that. Like it is what it is. I'm done with that now. So, but the conditioning was not my favorite. But I set a goal to run a game plus overtime. And that was something I think setting goals is very important, especially sticking to those goals. And that was just my motivating factor, as well as giving everything that I had with the workout. Plus, I actually threw in my own workout plans in there as well. I had a workout partner. I had the support of my father and my brother, um, with their dedication of showing up at the gym. So it was hard work. It was sacrifice. It was. I couldn't go out every night. I couldn't, go out and kick it. And it's the summertime, that fine summer body back in the day. I don't know about it now, but anyway, I had to dedicate myself, and that was it. That summer was my wake up call. And I remember starting school back that sophomore year and killed the preseason. I
Nice.
didn't mind conditioning. It was already uh, embedded in me.
So I'm just gonna throw something out there because
Okay.
Campus Bound GPS is built on a framework, and the
Hmm.
framework is called MAP, Mindset, Awareness, and Preparation. Uh, Part of the mindset piece is the 5 C's to a campus bound mindset. You just kind of pulled, you just kind of played it out right there for me, because the first C is consciousness, being aware. So you woke up knowing that, something was kind of off. Let me try to figure this out. The second C is clarity, really zoning in and just figuring out I need to do something. I know something is off, and now I kind of detected it. Now it's time for me to do something.
Hmm.
The third C is consider the dot, 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 which is consider all the variables, all the alternatives. Do I want to get better? If I don't get better, what happens? All of those different variables to kind of figure this out. The fourth C is consistency. That's your dedication, waking up every day, doing your workout, setting your goals, doing what you started off to do. And the last C, which is amazing because you exemplified it, is confidence, getting out during preseason and doing the darn thing. So
Yes.
that is the framework, and you just kind of walked right through that, which is amazing. And I can see how this identity piece kind of fits in, because you have to know yourself, or
Mhm.
or be in a situation where you recognize that you are in a situation, and
Mhm.
now make a decision to move through it, which is
Absolutely.
sometimes hard for young adults.
Absolutely. Yes, you definitely have to have the mindset. I don't think that I had the average 18-year-old mindset. Like that was just who I was. But we
Mhm.
focus so much on athlete and prepping for the athlete, and where you're going to school and athlete, and then where you're going to school and the athlete. But as a whole, that's the basis of the business that I have. I focus on the holistic part of the athlete. It's not just about playing or practicing. That's a major part of it, but we overlook all those little pieces, that really elevates the actual athlete, that elevates the student and the athlete as well. Um, Everything plays its whole. And I think that what people see, when you're looking at TV, they just see the games. They don't see the practice. They don't see the blood, sweat, and tears. They don't see the ice packs on the knees. They don't know about the 6 a.m. workouts, the 2 a day workouts. They don't even really know how much being a college athlete, how much time that takes. And I tell people all the time, it's like working two full-time jobs. Seriously. You start at 6 in the morning and you're ending at 8, 9 o'clock at night, maybe 7 or 8, somewhere up in there, depending on what day it is. And you have to start all over the next morning, um, as well as balance your grades. So, again, that mental piece is very important to make sure that is intact.
Awesome. So there's a lot of preparing going on to be
Yes,
that, you're to have your athletic identity. It stems on mindset, if I heard this correctly.
absolutely.
Um, and the outcome, and I'm going to throw this piece in, the outcome is confidence.
Yes, most definitely. You have to be confident. I mean, that's kind. I mean, as an athlete, it's like, confidence and being an athlete kind of goes hand in hand. You have to be confident. That already has to be embedded in you. So it's there. You just have to ignite it sometimes.
Gotcha. So
Yeah.
this has been a wonderful tip, a
Yes.
great conversation,
Yes,
a
I agree.
very interesting topic.
Mhm.
What would you like to leave our audience with?
Well, the athletic identity again is one of the most things that a lot of the college athletes struggle with, but we don't want to just limit that to college athletes, because there's also a piece within high school athletes that don't make it, let alone those athletes who endure career ending injuries that just come up. Those things are hard to kind of get over, to work through. So I think, as far as parents, your support is very, very important. Even if it's just a call in saying, how are you doing, that could probably take it, that could probably go a long way. So as far as me and the ball code, I'm still helping out with trying to prepare those student athletes with that transition piece. For those of you who are interested, make sure that you follow my pages, the ball code, at the ball code. I think I'll maybe post this somewhere, but at the ball code on Instagram, on Facebook, you can find me there. So I have a book out, actually, and it's called 25 Tips for the Next Level Student Athlete. And this was a book that I wrote based on my experiences, as well as others. So this is something that I think will be very beneficial for those high school athletes that are thinking about going to college, or that they know that they will. So parents, get that book for them. You can go to www.theballcode.com for more information. And
And say the
Lisa,
name of the book one more time.
yes, 25 tips for the next level student athlete. And it is a welcome to college edition.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yes.
Thank you, Z.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate you. I wish you much success with all that you do. You're doing great
Thank
work,
you.
needed work, building up our student athletes to be confident in their skin, so that they can be, not only a better athlete, but better for themselves. So I really
Absolutely.
appreciate the work that you're doing.
And I appreciate the work that you're doing.
Thank
It's
you.
it's kind of hand in hand. We all are, we all have our hand in this. We are the village, and it's all about these student athletes. So I really appreciate you doing all of the work that you're doing, and putting all these tips together. I think it's wonderful you coming up with this October tip month, and you introduce all these different tips. That's wonderful.
Thank you. And that actually wraps up day 23. 23 tips
Yay.
down. We're moving,
MJ.
we're inching towards the 31st, but great information, wonderful stuff. I thank you again. Parents, students, pick up the book. Okay, repeat it one more time so I don't
Yes.
mess it up.
25 tips for the next level student athlete.
25 tips for the next student athlete. So it's out there. Visit Z's website and go ahead. What is it?
www.theballcode.com. You can visit there. The ebook is at Amazon. So, um, yeah.
Good. Okay. So to wrap up, I just want to say, everyone, thank you. Thank you for tuning in. Remember to subscribe on YouTube. I keep forgetting that, and my assistant keeps telling me I need to mention, because this is the first time we're exposing everything to YouTube. We're creating this YouTube channel, but we can't do it without the help of the parents and the students who are seeking information. So please, please, please subscribe. And It's a wrap. This is Lisa Marie Aird with Campus Bound GPS, where we help students and parents navigate the college application process. We are ending day 23 of October tips. I want to say good night
Good
and
night. Thank
please,
you.
please, please be safe.
Yes. Bye.
Bye bye.